Rowe of the 123rd, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Speaker.
Good afternoon, sir.
Well, I guess we've got some good news with this budget, and the good news would be that it is a reasonably honest budget. I think that's the end of the good news. Just because a budget is reasonably honest doesn't mean it's a good budget, doesn't mean it's a budget that ought to pass. But I do think we need to, with a nod, at least acknowledge that, of course, we have this multi-billion-dollar gap with the concessions still out there, but putting that aside, we've got a reasonably honest budget. So we appreciate that. But again, that's not the end of the story. The story here really is that we've got the largest tax increase in the history of the state. That's nothing to ignore. That's nothing to treat lightly. That's historic. We are all going to be part of history, hopefully tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. And we ought not take that lightly. Nearly $4 billion in new taxes and tax increases over a $40 billion budget over the two-year biennium. Of course, you juxtapose that with no meaningful reductions in spending, in fact, an increase in spending, and at best, that's very troubling, and at worst, frankly, it's outrageous. Now, we all know the governor had a listening tour. He went to 17 municipalities, and presumably he listened, and many of us had our town hall meetings. We talked to people at the ball fields and the soccer fields, and Representative Huang and I, along with Senator Musto, had a very engaging town hall meeting about a month ago. And to a person, those that came up to the microphone to speak, they didn't ask, well, gee, I think the way out of this is to raise taxes about $4 billion, give or take. No one said that. No one said raise taxes a penny. Just the opposite. They either begged, they pleaded, they yelled, they implored us, they cajoled. I should have written down a bunch of synonyms so I could come up with more, but any way they could get the message across that tax increases were something they couldn't handle. Their family budgets weren't being increased. Their family budgets were being tightened. But not the case here. When we grow our budget in Hartford, we grow our tax base. And we grow our tax base by raising taxes, not by bringing in businesses, but simply by raising taxes on the businesses we have, by raising taxes on the individual taxpayers. So our motto in Connecticut perhaps ought to be, tax first, ask questions later. So everyone that I spoke with, everyone, talked about, please get your house in order and don't soak us with taxes. And even if they weren't talking about soaking with taxes, even if they were amenable to discussing it, and they weren't, but even if they did, they would have no taste whatsoever for this kind of tax hike. So we listened at our town hall meeting, and we came away with it knowing that we needed not to raise taxes, but to do the opposite, to get our house in order. This budget that we're voting on does not do that. It does just the opposite. It answers practically all the deficit questions by raising taxes.